with like this and the common was also something which was in the same topic. So yeah, I have a very strong interest for traditional craftsmanship, especially the one which are related to textiles. So first of all, like considering from the position of my country, France, and of course I have an interest for also the other knowledge I can see in other countries. But I also try to remember that in my country we have interesting knowledges and it's good to preserve them. So for example, we can count on embroidery, weaving, knitting, which is a bit different maybe. All the way you can make some textile, like knotting the textile, creating the threads, yeah, all these things. And I'm used to combine them with some things which are related to electronics, for example, but also some of practices like science, like natural. For example, natural dyeing is something which is at the intersection of science and textile technologies, because you need to understand your fabric, how is it, and yeah. So these things are the crossroad, and yeah, jumping from this, you can jump from natural dyeing, for example, to recipes to make conductive textiles, or like for example the rice paste resists to make some circuitry. Yeah, I think it's very interesting to combine and to jump from one topic to another. But I have a background in textile design, and most of the time I'm collaborating with other people, because even if I have a very strong interest for science or electronics, I cannot be able to make everything. And for example, I couldn't be the one which is programming. I can make a few small things in programming, but if I want to have something which is very interesting, I need to collaborate with someone. And that's the point where the common is also so important for me, because even if it's for textile or electronics, I think it's even stronger with electronics, because you have all the community online which is sharing tips and codes. For textile, it's a bit different, but for example, you have books and archives, and people were sharing things online, but it's not a strong community like electronics. And this is always at the center of my practice. I'm collaborating with others, and I'm combining the knowledge I have, especially with craftsmanship, with other things. So it could start between like simply a discussion, someone which will say to me, you know, this kind of tool we use in electronics, for example. And it could also be bigger, like collaborating for months or for years, for example, with Data Paulette, which is a collective I'm part of, and I'm one of the founder. The collective is like 7 years now, and it's a team with engineer, web developers, and designer and textile designer, and all together we are making project. For example, if you are working in the field of engineering, you are very interested to have very smart sensors, and so together we can create these sensors. And in the other way, for an engineer, it would be difficult to understand the properties of the textiles and the way you can craft a sensor, in fact. So yeah, this is very important for me, and this is something which is also spread online with the community we try to build, the textile community, which is very strong, and events, online events like Tribe Against Machine, the textile summer camp, for example. All of these things, and I'm very happy to be one of these partners, which is making evolving the research with crafts and electronics. And I think it's something which is, you can find it if you have a look in the practice of all of us in the textile community. If you look at co-backends, or if you look at what we are doing at DataPret, or every member of this community, they have always this interest for craftsmanship and textiles and electronics, or research with electronics, for example.
It is.
Yeah, and it's also making the research evolve, because it's, of course, you can there's different things, but if you are working with patent, for example, I think it's making the research and the collaboration getting slowly. But if you're making everything available, so in common, with open source, or explaining as much as possible what you're doing, or even creating some physical communities where you meet with them, or you, all these things for me, it's for sure it's a good ecology between electronics and knowledge we can have, and many of our practices, in fact. And I think this combination is good, because it's also a way to collaborate together, and it's also a way to preserve some techniques and to make them evolve. For example, if you think you can only make electronics with only electronic tools, I would say we could not make sensors which are very close of the body, for example. We should have stopped at the moment where we are making PCBs, hard PCBs, and that's it. So, but if we collaborate, we can consider that embroidery, for example, is the way to make connections, and on that way you can create circuits, and that's it. Something which is very important for me also is it's very good to enable. For example, we are collaborating with the Taiwanese community, and so we are enable them to know about this thing if they don't know yet about, and we enable them to, maybe if they want, make their practice evolve, maybe it's more challenging. But I think it's very important to consider that it's also like an option. We don't have to make everything evolve. We don't have to forget about our craft, and even if they are very simple and very ancient, they have to stay like this. This is very important. And my position is, for example, if I can take an example, like in France, we have tapestries. And in the past, we were making tapestry with gold, because to show the richness, but also to make them be a bit glowing. And so with time, we stopped doing this, because it was not appropriate to do it. But now we don't do it anymore, not at all. And so for example, with Martin, from DataPret, we are doing a project in which we explore the fact that if we bring back gold or some other conductive materials in tapestries, this would be a way to connect these tapestries. So we try to show up that a craft, which is a very special technique, which is trying to, now it's almost forgiven.
You mean to bring the energy to the old industry?
Yeah, to show that this practice, like weaving gold and conductive threads, is very modern, in fact. And I think we have forget about it. I think now we are living in a moment where we are giving value to crafts. But in the past, at the moment, I think there were we were very interested by industry, things which are going quickly with the consumer society and all these things. And what was old was like stinky, and that was very old. And that, in fact, so we are a bit losing. Like in France, we have some practices which are almost disappearing, like the feather work. The community which is able to do it is very, very small. And I'm making a project related to, but I cannot pretend I'm a feather worker. This is very something special. But we are the quantity of people who are doing it are very disappearing. And I think especially with, for example, things related to gold, these things are really disappearing. Like the people were able to make the side of the books with gold on it. This is something there's only few, like maybe few people in France which are able to do it. But this is so interesting to be able to apply gold on very specific objects and on, for example, on the paper in it directly. So it would be stupid if we just lose this thing, this knowledge, and in few years we will realize, wow, we could have made some connected books with this, but where is the guy which is able to do it? There's no more. and so the work, like for example, in my case, most of the time I work with archives, and I go in the library and I ask to see the archives, because you can find people which are able to do it, but sometimes also the expectation of the society, because we want something with a very low price, the expectation, they are not oriented to have a very good craft, even if it spends like 10 years to do it. We want to have something efficient and with a good price. So this is also something which is making us lose our knowledge and the craft that we are owning in each countries. So I try to fight against these things. And I think the common is a good way also to preserve it. But I don't want to be, I don't appreciate when we say that we will encourage people to do it. We are available, this community is available. And if they think that maybe because they appreciate to do something with gold and they could make something connected, and they could show that a golden book is not only something old and expensive, but something useful and a very nice artwork. I think this is nice, but it's very important to let the door open.